On my birthday, my wife threw a surprise party with her family. To dump me for another man? I deserve better than you, she shouted, as her father mocked me. He was always beneath us. They popped champagne as I walked away in silence. Now, she sleeps in her car outside my house. My 35th birthday started out quiet. That kind of quiet where you think, maybe, just maybe, it'll stay uneventful. No big gestures, no surprises, just peace. I made myself coffee. My wife, Rachel, was still in bed when I got up. No happy birthday. No card. Nothing waiting on the kitchen counter. Just silence and an empty sink. I didn't think too much of it. Rachel had always been distant in the mornings. We weren't in a bad place, or so I thought. We weren't fighting. We had our routines. We paid bills, cooked meals, even watched Netflix most nights. It wasn't passionate, but it was stable. Familiar. And I thought that meant safe. Around noon, she came downstairs, dressed nicely. Hair done, makeup sharp, wearing her deep red lipstick, the one she usually saved for family parties or job interviews. I assumed maybe she had a plan for dinner. Get dressed, she said. Come into the living room in 10 minutes. It's a surprise. I blinked. A surprise? She nodded, that tight smile she used when she was trying to hold back laughter. Just go change. Wear something decent. I did. Truthfully? I was a little excited. Rachel wasn't the sentimental type, and maybe I had lowered my expectations over the years, but still, the thought that she'd planned something made me feel seen. Maybe this was her way of showing she cared. I put on a button-down, even shaved. When I walked into the living room, I immediately felt something was wrong. Her entire family was there. Her parents, her two sisters, their husbands, even her cousin Jake, who lived 2 states away. All standing or seated around the room. Champagne glasses in hand. I opened my mouth to ask what was going on. That's when Rachel walked in holding a manila envelope. She stood next to the coffee table and looked directly at me. Happy birthday, she said. Here's your present. She tossed the envelope onto the table. Everyone was watching. Every face in that room was waiting for me to react. I looked down. Inside were divorce papers. What is this? I asked, even though I already knew. It's exactly what it looks like, she said. I'm leaving you. I've met someone else. Someone who actually has ambition. A real man. Not someone who's just surviving. There was a pause. Like a beat of silence where the air got heavier. Then her father laughed. Loud, full of teeth. We always knew she'd outgrow this loser phase, he said, raising his glass. Someone popped the champagne. It foamed over the rim and they laughed again. I looked around the room. Every eye on me. Some with pity. Some with smug satisfaction. Not one person shocked. Not one surprised. It was planned. All of it. Rachel looked almost proud. I didn't want to drag it out, she said. I thought it'd be easier to just rip off the Band-Aid. I didn't say anything. Not because I didn't have words. Because I realized they wanted something from me. Anger. Shame. A scene. They wanted the moment burned into my memory as the day they broke me. So I didn't give it to them. I picked up the envelope. Pulled out the papers. Read them slowly. Signed. Set the pen down. Looked Rachel in the eye. Good luck, I said. Then I walked out. Behind me, someone said, wait, what? But I didn't stop. I got into my car, turned the key, and drove. I didn't know where I was going yet, but I knew exactly what I was leaving behind. And for the first time that day, I smiled. I drove aimlessly for a while. Through side streets I hadn't taken in years. Past the high school football field where we used to sit on bleachers during summer nights. Past the 24-hour diner we once loved before life got complicated. Everywhere I looked, ghosts of old comfort stared back at me. I didn't feel sad. I felt strange. Like a heavy coat had been lifted off my shoulders. Like I was breathing someone else's air for the first time. Eventually, I pulled into a grocery store parking lot. I didn't need anything. I just sat there for a while, engine off, hands on the wheel. There was a moment where I nearly cried. Not because I wanted her back, but because I realized how long I'd accepted being unloved as normal. I had ignored the signs for years. Rachel never respected me. Not really. She tolerated me. I was convenient. I was predictable. And I mistook that for being wanted. We met in our mid-20s. I was working at a job I hated, trying to figure out who I was. She was ambitious, driven, sharp-tongued. She made decisions fast, lived fast, expected results. I was slow, methodical, careful. At first, she found it charming. Said I grounded her. But grounding slowly turned into dragging. In her eyes. Over time, I noticed the eye rolls when I talked about a new idea. The way she'd tell stories at parties that made me sound pathetic. How she'd correct me mid-sentence or speak over me when I paused too long. I should have said something. Maybe I did. Once or twice. But every time, she made me feel like I was being sensitive. It's just a joke, she'd say. Don't be dramatic. And I believed her. Because believing her was easier than believing the alternative, that the person I shared a bed with thought less of me than strangers did. That birthday ambush wasn't a betrayal. It was the final act in a play that had been running for years. And in a twisted way, I was thankful for it. Because now I didn't have to guess anymore. I drove to a motel on the outskirts of town. Paid in cash. The room smelled like bleach and cigarette smoke, but the bed was clean and the shower ran hot. I sat on the edge of the bed, shoes still on, and let the silence stretch. Rachel would probably be laughing right now. Or pretending to be unbothered. They'd probably already posted photos of the party, captioned something like *new beginnings. #fresh start *. Let them. She gave me freedom. She gave me a birthday gift I didn't know I needed. I took out my phone and opened my notes app. Wrote one sentence. This is day one. Then I put the phone down, lay back, and closed my eyes. Sleep didn't come easy. But it came. The first morning after it all ended, I woke up before sunrise. The motel room was dim, washed in the dull orange light of the parking lot outside. My back ached from the cheap mattress. My mouth was dry. But there was a calm to it. A strange, clean quiet. I didn't know what to do, so I made a list. That's something Rachel used to tease me for, my lists. She'd laugh when she found little sticky notes on the fridge or tucked in my wallet. But lists made sense to me. They were order in chaos. And that morning I needed order. So I wrote. 1. Find a short-term apartment. 2. Change mailing address. 3. Call Mark about freelance work. 4. Get gym membership. 5. Stop checking Rachel's social media. The last one I underlined. I spent the next 2 days driving around town, calling listings, touring studios. Everything smelled like someone else's life, but that was the point. I needed something unrecognizable. I signed a lease on a tiny place above a bakery. The floors creaked. The water pressure was bad. But it had light. Big windows that let the sun pour in. It felt like possibility. Moving in took only a few hours. I didn't have much. A few suitcases. My laptop. A coffee maker. A duffel bag of clothes that still smelled like the old house. I bought a new bed. A desk. One chair. That was it. I didn't tell anyone where I was. I wasn't hiding, I just didn't want to explain anything. Not yet. The silence felt like something I'd earned. At night I read. Books I'd bought over the years but never finished. I made real food. I took long showers. I listened to entire albums start to finish. I started writing again, not for anyone, just for myself. There were moments when the loneliness hit hard. Like when I woke up at 3 a.m. to silence that felt too big. Or when I saw couples laughing in a cafe window. I let myself feel it. No distractions. No excuses. I learned to sit with the discomfort. And slowly something shifted. I started walking in the mornings. Just a few blocks. Then a few more. I found a park nearby with a bench under a crooked oak tree. I made it my ritual. Coffee. Walk. Bench. Breathe. One morning I got a text from Rachel. Are you okay? I stared at it. Left it unread. She didn't follow up. A week later, another message. You moved out fast. I guess it was easier for you. This one I deleted. And that was when I knew something had changed. Because the old me would have answered. Tried to make her feel better. Tried to explain. Yeah? I owed her nothing. I owed myself everything. I made a new list. 1. Build something of my own. 2. Say yes to things. 3. Forgive myself. 4. Trust silence. It became my quiet manifesto. I picked up a few small freelance gigs. Built a website. Designed a logo. Nothing big, but enough to remind myself that I still had skills, value, something to offer. I started tracking my expenses. Set small goals. Hit them. Some mornings I woke up with anxiety sitting on my chest like a rock. I'd lie in bed, paralyzed by the thought that maybe Rachel was right. Maybe I was just average. Forgettable. But then I'd remember how forgettable I was until I left. Suddenly she couldn't stop texting. That irony kept me going. I joined a gym. Nothing serious. Just movement. The first time I ran a mile without stopping, I nearly cried. Not from the effort. From the realization that my body was still mine. I started journaling every night. Just a page or two. What I saw. What I thought. What hurt. What helped. I wrote it like letters to the man I was becoming. The man I hoped would keep showing up. Sometimes I cooked full dinners just for myself. Set the table. Play jazz. Ate slowly. I found myself talking aloud sometimes. Not out of loneliness. Just because it felt good to hear my own voice in a room that didn't judge it. One day, I bumped into Mark, an old friend from college. We grabbed coffee. Talked about our lives, how they turned out nothing like we expected. He offered me a few more freelance projects. He didn't ask about Rachel. That was the best gift he could have given me. Weeks passed. My phone stayed quiet. The ache dulled. My shoulders sat lower. I laughed at a YouTube video and realized it was the first time I'd laughed without faking it in months. Then, one Saturday morning, another text came in. I missed the way you used to make coffee. It was from Rachel. Short. Loaded. I turned my phone off. I walked to the park. Sat on my bench. Watched a dog chase leaves across the grass. An older couple walked by, holding hands. The man wore a faded denim jacket. The woman leaned into him like he was shelter. I didn't cry. I didn't wish for what they had. I just felt quiet admiration. That night, I cleaned my apartment. Rearranged the furniture. Lit a candle. Watched a movie by myself and didn't feel the urge to check my phone once. That was the night I knew I wasn't rebuilding my life around a wound. I was building it around possibility. Not just surviving. Becoming. 3 months passed. The texts from Rachel slowed down. Then stopped entirely. By then I was living like someone else. Or maybe I was finally living like myself. Work picked up. I landed a steady stream of freelance contracts, enough to cover rent, food, and even put some aside. I didn't chase money, but it came anyway, not in heaps, but in dignity. I felt useful again. Whole. My apartment changed with me. It got warmer. Cozier. More mine. I framed photos I'd taken on walks. Bought a record player. Learned how to fix a leaking sink without calling anyone. I stopped calling it the apartment. It became home. Then one afternoon in early spring I saw Rachel again. Not in person. Online. A mutual friend had posted pictures from a gathering. I wasn't tagged, but there she was in the background, alone. Hair pulled back. Makeup smudged. Eyes hollow. I hadn't expected that. I almost didn't recognize her. Later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I clicked on her profile. Most of it was gone. That engagement photos with the new guy? Deleted. Her smug birthday post? Gone. Her feed was bare. Sterile. Like she was trying to erase the last 6 months. The next day, I got a voicemail. Hey. I know I probably shouldn't be calling, but I need to talk to you. It's not what you think. He's gone. I made a mistake. Please call me back. I didn't. Not out of cruelty. Out of self-preservation. 2 days later, another voicemail. They all turned on me. My parents, my sisters. Everyone. I thought I knew what I wanted. I didn't. You didn't deserve any of that. This time she cried at the end. I listened once. Then deleted it. I didn't tell anyone. Not Mark. Not my parents. It felt private. Like an echo I didn't want bouncing around in someone else's head. Weeks passed. Spring warmed into summer. The air turned softer. I spent more time outside. Started jogging regularly. Sometimes I'd take the long way through the neighborhood just to pass the homes that reminded me nothing of her. Nothing of our old life. I grew a little stronger. A little braver. I started reading aloud from books at night. Just a page or two. It made the room feel less empty, even though I didn't mind the emptiness anymore. It was mine. Then one evening I bumped into Todd, Rachel's cousin, at the grocery store. We weren't close, but we'd shared a few family dinners back when things were good. He looked uncomfortable. Hey man, he said, scratching the back of his neck. Just wanted to say, that whole thing on your birthday. That was messed up. I didn't know they were planning it like that. If I had, I wouldn't have come. I nodded. Thanks. He paused before adding, Rachel's not doing great. Just thought you should know. I didn't ask for details. Just wished him a good night. I walked home slowly. Not because I was sad, but because I wanted to remember this feeling, being able to walk away from anything that didn't belong to me anymore. A few days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring. The voicemail this time was short. I'm outside. Please talk to me. I stood by the window looking down. And there she was. Rachel. In her old car. Parked across the street. Hair messy. Eyes red. She looked smaller somehow. Not thinner. Just collapsed. I watched for a long time. She didn't move. Just stared at the front of my building. I didn't go down. Not because I hated her. Because I didn't trust her pain yet. She stayed the night. I left the lights off. In the morning, she was still there. Sleeping, curled up in the driver's seat. My phone buzzed with a single message. Please answer. I sat at my desk, drank my coffee slowly, and stared at the message. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my journal. Wrote one sentence. Some people only want you back when they realize they can't break you. Then I closed the book and got ready for the day. She was gone when I came home that evening. No note. No more texts. Just an empty curb where her car had been. And I didn't feel relief or regret. I just felt certain. I was free. It's been 6 months now. I still walk every morning. The park bench is mine. The crooked oak tree, the spot where the sun breaks through the leaves at 8:12 a.m., mine. The silence I used to dread? Now I crave it. It's not emptiness anymore. It's clarity. I have a home. Not just a space. A home. I hung shelves. Refinished a table I found on the curb. My kitchen smells like coffee and burnt toast and cinnamon sometimes. There's a coat rack by the door. One hook always empty, not because I'm waiting, but because I like the space. I got a dog. A rescue named Bruno. He snores when he sleeps and barks at squirrels like they owe him money. He rides shotgun when I go out for groceries and leans against my legs when I work. He doesn't ask for much. Just consistency. And that I can give. Rachel hasn't reached out again. Not since the car. I sometimes wonder where she went. If she's okay. But I don't wonder for long. There's a strange peace in knowing I don't need to chase answers anymore. The last thing she ever texted me was, "Please answer." And I did. Not with words. With silence. With growth. With building something from the wreckage she thought would bury me. Mark and I started a small agency. Nothing fancy. Just a clean website, a few loyal clients, and a lot of late-night coffees. It works. It feels like something real. Last week, I visited my parents. My dad hugged me longer than usual. My mom said, "You look taller somehow." Maybe I am. Maybe freedom gives you posture. I still think about that birthday sometimes. The sound of champagne popping. The laughter. The manila envelope. It doesn't hurt anymore. It just reminds me of how far I've walked. Somewhere, they're probably still telling the story differently. But I don't need to explain. I have a story too. And mine ends here. With me. With Bruno. With sunlight on the kitchen floor. With the quiet kind of victory you don't need to announce. I made it. And I'm not going back. Some days I wake up before my alarm. Just open my eyes and lie there listening to the hum of the fridge, the faint rustle of trees outside my window. There's no rush. No pressure to perform or prove anything. I drink my coffee slowly, savoring the stillness. There's an older man who walks his golden retriever around the same park I go to. We nod to each other now. No words yet, just mutual acknowledgement. I like that. The simplicity of shared space without demands. Bruno knows the route. He leads me to the same corner bench, pauses for his ritual sniff around the lamppost, then plops down at my feet. Sometimes I read while he naps. Sometimes I just breathe. I used to think growth had to be loud, dramatic, announced. Now I know it can be quiet. Quiet like a well-made bed. Like clean dishes stacked neatly. Like knowing exactly where your keys are. The kind of peace that doesn't make headlines. I got an email last month from someone I hadn't heard from in years. An old colleague. He asked how I was. Said he heard about what happened. I never asked what version he heard. I just replied, "I'm doing well. Thank you." He responded with a single sentence. "I always thought you deserved more." I didn't cry, but I let it sit with me for a while. Because for years I thought maybe I didn't. It's funny how long we live with someone else's definition of our worth. But the best thing I ever did was stop asking for their permission to feel whole. These days I cook more. I experiment with sauces. I ruin recipes and laugh about it. I bought a houseplant and haven't killed it yet. I write when I feel like it. I don't force myself to be productive every minute. I call my parents more. I walk slower. I trust my own quiet. I haven't started dating again. Not because I'm afraid, but because I don't want to bring someone into a half-built life. And for the first time, I'm okay being alone. It doesn't scare me. It feels intentional. Healing isn't a finish line. It's a rhythm. And mine is steady now. I printed a photo of myself last week. A candid one Mark took at the office. I'm laughing. Really laughing. Eyes creased. Shoulders relaxed. I framed it and put it near the front door. Not out of vanity, but as a reminder of the man I became. Not in spite of what happened, but because I finally let go of what wasn't mine to carry anymore. So if you ask me how the story ends, it doesn't. It grows quieter and stronger, like roots beneath steady ground. And that to me is victory.